In 1965, they were marching for civil rights and social justice. By 2003, they were planning wars in the Middle East. What happened in between? This isn't just a story about people changing their minds. This is about one of the most dramatic intellectual transformations in American history. A shift so profound it redefined global politics for decades. But here's the mystery nobody talks about. How did a small group of university professors and writers end up with their hands on the levers of American power? The answer will surprise you. Picture this. The year is 1968. Irving Kristol is editing a left-leaning magazine. His colleagues are socialists, liberals, activists. Fast forward to 1980. These same people are advising Republican presidents. This should be impossible, but it happened. What makes it so fascinating? They didn't just switch teams, they built an entirely new playbook. They weren't following trends, they were creating them. The question that haunts political historians is this: was this a genuine evolution of ideas, or something more calculated? The documents from that era reveal something unexpected, a deliberate strategy to reshape American political thought from the inside out. But why? What triggered this radical shift? Most people think they know the answer. The Cold War changed them. Fear of Soviet expansion pushed them to the right. But that's not the whole story. Dig deeper into the private correspondence, the unpublished essays, the closed-door meetings, and you find something else entirely. These intellectuals discovered a critical truth, that ideas alone weren't enough. Ideas needed power structures. They needed institutions. They needed a movement. Irving Kristol didn't just write essays, he built networks. His wife, the historian Gertrude Himmelfarb, crafted moral frameworks that gave the movement its philosophical weight. Together, they created something unprecedented. But here's what's rarely discussed. The transition wasn't smooth. There were internal battles, philosophical conflicts, and bitter disagreements about means and ends. Some early members left in disgust, horrified by the direction things were taking. Others doubled down. The question is, what did they see that made them stay? What future were they so committed to building? By the 1970s, something extraordinary was happening in Washington. Academic papers weren't just being published, they were becoming policy. Theoretical frameworks weren't just being debated, they were being implemented. How did this happen so fast? Enter the think tanks, the American Enterprise Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and dozens of others. But these weren't typical research institutions. They were something new: idea factories designed to manufacture political influence. Richard Perle understood this better than anyone. His nickname, the Prince of Darkness, wasn't just about his hardline policy positions. It was about his method. Here's the technique nobody explains. Perle and others would write policy papers in the morning, brief congressmen at lunch, and then appear on news programs by evening to discuss the very ideas they had just briefed. The same idea, repeated through different channels, gaining legitimacy through sheer repetition. Psychology researchers call this the mere exposure effect. These intellectuals weaponized it. The question is, were they manipulating the system, or just playing by new rules they had invented themselves? In 1992, a document lands on desks across Washington. It's called the Defense Planning Guidance. The author, a man named Paul Wolfowitz. Most people have never heard of it, but it predicted the next 30 years of American foreign policy. Its central thesis was radical. America must prevent any rival power from emerging ever, anywhere. When the document leaked to the press, there was outrage. It was called imperial, dangerous, unsustainable. So the administration buried it. Officially, it was shelved. Crisis averted. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. The document didn't die, went underground. The same ideas, repackaged, reworded, and re-emerged through different channels, over and over again. By 2001, in the wake of 9/11s, those once dangerous ideas had become official American doctrine. The question that researchers still debate is this: was this document a prediction, or a blueprint? Did Wolfowitz simply foresee the future, or did he and his allies spend a decade making sure it happened? Now here's where it gets really interesting. If you track their career paths, you see Wolfowitz moving from the State Department to defense. Perle advises multiple administrations. New figures emerge, all connected, all promoting similar ideas. This wasn't a coincidence, it was coordination. But unlike a political party, this network operated across different administrations. It didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat, the ideas persisted. Political scientists actually have a term for this: the permanent government. These weren't elected officials who had to answer to voters. They were advisors, consultants, and fellows at think tanks, always there, always influential. And here's what makes it so remarkable. You could vote out a president, but you couldn't vote out the policy framework they had built. It had become embedded in how Washington itself thought about power. This raises a big question. Is this how intellectual movements are supposed to work in a democracy? Then came 2002 and 2003, the moment when theory became reality. The Iraq War wasn't just a military operation. It was a test of an entire worldview. The neoconservative framework argued that authoritarian regimes could be transformed through intervention. Democracy could be exported. American power could reshape entire regions. But the critics said this was dangerously naive. Cultures are complex, and interventions always have unintended consequences. Both sides were absolutely certain they were right. But here's the mystery that still captivates researchers today. The intelligence reports were contradictory. America's allies were skeptical. Even internal CIA assessments raised serious doubts. Yet the advocates for war pushed forward with absolute conviction. Was this certainty based on superior analysis, or was it confirmation bias on a geopolitical scale? Documents released years later show the internal debates were far more contentious than the public ever knew. So what did they know? And more importantly, what did they choose to believe? By 2008, the verdict seemed clear. The intervention hadn't worked as planned. There were thousands of casualties, regional destabilization, and trillions of dollars in costs. You would expect this to be the end of the movement. But something strange happened instead. The ideas didn't disappear, they evolved. Some of the original neoconservatives became critics of the war. Others doubled down, defending their framework. And new thinkers emerged with modified versions of the original ideas. Here's the truly fascinating part. Elements of neoconservative thinking started appearing in unexpected places, like in democratic administrations, European policy, and international institutions. The framework had become separated from its creators. Think about Libya in 2011 or Syria in 2013. Interventions launched by different leaders from different parties, yet they followed a very similar logic. Political scientists call this ideological diffusion. The original movement had transformed into something bigger, more distributed, and much harder to define. This leads to the question, can you ever truly kill an idea once it has escaped its creators? Today, if you go to foreign policy conferences in Washington, you'll hear the echoes. It's not the exact same language, it's not the same people, but the underlying frameworks are there. The belief in American power, the focus on preventing rivals, and the emphasis on promoting values in foreign policy. The neoconservative movement as it existed in 2003 is gone, but what replaced it? Some call it liberal interventionism, others call it the primacy doctrine. There are different labels for very similar concepts. What makes this story so current is that as new challenges arise, like the rise of China, cybersecurity threats, or climate diplomacy, policymakers reach for familiar frameworks to solve them. The intellectual architecture that was built decades ago still shapes how America thinks about its role in the world. So, are we still living in the world the neoconservatives imagined? What's the real lesson here? This isn't just about one political movement. It's about how ideas gain power in democracies. The neoconservatives understood something crucial. You don't change the world just by winning elections. You change it by changing how people think about problems. They built institutions. They trained new thinkers. They published relentlessly. They created intellectual frameworks that outlasted any single administration. Whether you agree with them or not, you have to admit their strategy worked. The deeper question for us is this: what movements are doing this right now? What intellectual frameworks are being built today that will shape policy in the year 2040? And are we paying attention? The story of the neoconservative movement isn't over. It's just entered a new chapter. If you want to understand where American foreign policy is heading, you need to understand where it came from. Subscribe for more deep dives into the intellectual movements shaping our world, the ones operating just below the surface of the daily news. Because the most powerful forces in politics aren't the ones you see on TV. They're the ones writing the scripts that everyone else follows. Next time, we trace the intellectual origins of modern progressivism, and you won't believe where it started.